Look at that. How cool is that? That's like, I'm guessing a tree came down at one point and then a whole new tree grew up out of it. Look at that inside there. You think is that not an ideal place for an animal to hibernate? Do you ever wake up in the morning and think, what a good day to vlog? When you looked out the window and thought, you know what? It's just beautiful. And it is beautiful. But then you think, let's go and film it. I gotta be honest with you, this is probably going to be one of those vids that won't get me any subscribers because I'm just going to be an old bloke rambling. Just an old guy rambling in the woods. Seems to be a lot of them on YouTube. I never expected I'd be one of them, but there you go. But sometimes you just look at them and you think, wow, just beautiful. Beautiful, can't waste it. There may be some people out there are interested in this. I think it's magnificent. This is still part of our property here in Canada. That's our house up there. Beautiful, isn't it? We love it here. Mentioned before we're going to be sorry to leave, but the draw of France and a chateau is far too powerful to ignore. But I woke up this morning and I looked out and I thought, you know what a beautiful day. Let's go and film it and talk rubbish. So, with no expectations of getting any more subscribers, I'm just going to talk rubbish. And it got me thinking about, I'm lucky, there's no doubt about it. I'm very lucky to live in this part of the world and have the life that I have. But it hasn't always been that way. And this is not going to be a doom and gloom because my childhood was amazing, actually. I'm the product of a one-parent family. My mum and dad split up when I was 18 months old, and my mother kind of took a while to find herself, but she did. And had a wonderful childhood, I think. But I was dispatched to live with my Grandma and Grandad for a while. And when I talk about living in, we live in a beautiful place. We've got a wonderful house. I may talk to you at some point about other houses that we've lived in, but my Grandma and Grandad's house was, it's too easy to say that it was haunted. But it was. My mother had a sister, right? So here's why I know it's haunted. My mother had a sister, and the sister had 2 children of her own, my cousins, who are obviously grown up now. And I remember the first time all the cousins got together, and they were talking about Grandma and Grandad's house, and it was like, oh, you remember Grandma and Grandad's house? And they all went, ooh, yeah. And then all of a sudden they all start telling tales that they'd never told before. They'd never spoken to each other, about, the corridor in this house, and about feeling watched in this house, and about the strange things going on in this house. I mean, this house was pretty grim. Outside toilet. And I stayed there for quite a while. I was maybe 5, 6 years old, and I had a clock, and because I knew, even at that tender age, I knew that I had to go to sleep quick. You go to sleep quick in Grandma and Grandad's house. You don't hang around. And I had this clock that had 2 elves on it, on a little seesaw. And I figured I guess it worked, but I figured if I watched this seesaw watch these two little elves, and they'd go click, 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 click. Watch these two little elves. It would send me to sleep. And inevitably it did. But I remember one occasion when I could see very clearly the outline of the doorway in this clock face. It was reflecting back, and the landing light was always left. You always left the light on in Grandma and Grandad's house, because the house was in the absolute middle of nowhere. There were no street lights or anything, and if there was no moon, it was absolutely pitch black. So you left the light on. And I remember watching these two elves on this seesaw, desperately trying to go to sleep, because if I didn't go to sleep, I would hear these porcelain dolls that Grandma used to collect. I would hear them talking in the background, whispering to each other. Weird. So all of a sudden, in this reflection in this doorway, I saw a shape. Now, all right, some people might argue that, well, I was dropping asleep and I saw it in my, mind's eye, and it was just imagination and all the rest of it. And maybe it was, but at the time it was very, very, very clear. I saw something, a shape, a large shape standing in this doorway, and I jumped up and started to scream, and Grandma came rushing up she didn't rush because she had a bad leg, she had a bad knee, so she came as quickly as she could. Grandad was at work, he was on nights. She came rushing up the stairs as best she could, by which time, just before she got here, this shape had wandered along the corridor to the room at the end, which ultimately became a bathroom. But at that time it was a box room, spare room. Grandma played it down. It was all in my imagination. And maybe it was, who knows. My mother always maintained that, yes, there was something in that house, and it was probably Grandma's twin who died at childbirth. My grandma was one of two. She survived, the twin didn't. I don't think it was a twin, whatever it was. It was a bit too, I don't know, not malevolent, but it was not friendly. It wasn't a friendly thing. It would do things that you couldn't explain. So, the corner of the eye business, you see something in a corner, or the door would open, or just strange stuff. And you get together with family, cousins, and all of a sudden they start telling tales about walking down the corridor and seeing something in a doorway and all the rest of it. And you all go, what? Yes! I saw that. I don't know why I think of that at the moment. I don't know why I came here out in the snow. I'm riffing. But I had another interesting tale. So when my granddad died, my granddad was a woodworker, a cabinet maker, and he died, served my apprenticeship with him, which was awful, frankly. I hated it, but I did it, but I learned to love it. I remember when he died, I was devastated because he was a giant of a man. He was probably my my first male superhero, really. Man of few words, but damn solid as a rock. Solid as a rock. And he left some things when he died, one of which was an overmantel. People remember overmantels. The things that mirrors that sat over mantelpieces, quite ornate with little shelves and all the rest of it. And he left me this thing, which frankly was all right. It didn't have issue. Mrs. M doesn't like it, so it's remained in a box downstairs in the basement. But we had this house called Banquet House, which I've spoke about in previous videos, and I had it on the wall there. And I have a brother who's 9 years younger than me, And he came to visit one time, and this overmantel was on the wall, and he looked in it and he said, I recognise that. And I said, yeah, it was Grandad's. And he liked it. I said, you wouldn't want it. He says, why? I said, because when you look in that mirror, you don't always see your reflection looking back. Now my brother, my brother, listen, by his own admission, and if he saw this, he would say yes. My brother's not the sharpest tool in the shed. And he bought this line, hook, line and sinker. It was all rubbish, of course, but he bought this, and Mrs. M encouraged it as well, knowing that he'd freak out. Well, he went all quiet and suddenly decided he needed to go to the bathroom. Well, in that house, it had a downstairs toilet, okay? And there was another door off this downstairs toilet that led to the barn. And you could also access this barn through another door at the other side of the house. So my brother went in to go to the toilet. The minute he got up, as soon as the door shut, I ran round the other side of the house to the back of this door in the toilet. He was sat down taking a dump, perfectly quiet, and I started to breathe heavily. I've always done, I've got asthma, so I've always breathed heavily. But I was breathing extra special heavy on the back of this door and just tapping, very, very slightly tapping on this door. He freaked. I'm pretty sure he still had a turd in motion when he jumped out of that bathroom. I'd beat him to it, so I could hear what he was. So I ran round back again, and I sat back down on the sofa just as he opened the door to come back into the room. What's going? Did you hear that? Who was that? Who was that? Everybody's going, no, what? No, what? Who was that? Who was knocking on the door? And then we all looked at each other and said, no, what are you talking about? Rubbish. Now I said, and I should have left it. I should have owned up to him really, but. He's my brother, what do you do? I said, oh, don't worry about it. I says, it was Uncle Willie. And he went, what? Anyway, I proceeded then to tell him about Uncle Willie, who was the resident ghost in that banquet house. He never visited us again. He never came to that house again. It was funny. But it's what it is. You gotta love brothers, haven't you? Anyway. Mrs. M is still in Paris. And I'm still packing boxes. And I'm just enjoying the view. That's it. That's all I've got. I'm not going to ask for a like and subscribe because, well, it's what it is. I suppose this is for my regular viewers, our regular viewers. That's all I've got for you today. Just a vlog, just a consideration. I just looked out the window and thought, you know what, that's nice that. Have a good day, everybody. Catch you next time.